sometimes I just wonder, like, genuinely, who does this benefit? Hi guys, I got Popeyes because I'm craving a chicken burger. I know this is so random, but this is just me post finals. I gotta just get what I want, you know? In this video, I wanted to talk about things that are perfectly okay to have zero of. First things first, self-pity. And this is the thing that actually inspired this video, because I was going on a run with a friend and I was talking about like how self-pity never gets you anywhere and how I had to get rid of my self-pity in order to just like be a functional human being again. And he was like, self-pity is something that you can be okay having zero of. And this is a message that I want to emphasize for you guys. The fact that you do not need self-pity, and in most cases, self-pity holds you down. Now, what is self-pity, okay? There's like a difference between sympathy, like having compassion for yourself, like being kind to yourself, and wallowing in self-pity. In self-pity, you take everything so personally and you think the whole world is against you. You know, you think like your life is just doomed, like all these people did all these things to you, and it's a very much a victim mentality. And the problem with victim mentality is that it's very disempowering. The problem with self-pity is that you begin to identify yourself as a victim. And identity is so important in our world. It shapes so much of how you live your life. So if you always identify as a victim, you're just gonna continue the cycle of being a victim, right? Like the moment you start thinking that you're the victim, circumstances will continue to repeat themselves, and it's just the world is gonna continue to prove to you that you are the victim. And at least for me, I'm not sure if this is for everyone, but I feel like a lot of people with self-pity, they have this sort of hatred toward the world, or they have like a very negative outlook into the world because they felt like the world has hurt them, right? They have taken it personally. And I know there's like a lot of chaos in the world and there's a lot of injustice that's constantly happening. But the thing is, none of it is actually personal. None of it is something that you need to take personally and keep that as your identity and be stuck in that identity because you think that you're the person that the world hates, right? Like if you start thinking that way, like the world is like something that has like a personal vendetta against you, then you will continue being that person because you've already established this identity as the victim. And then you're never going to move past that, and you're never going to empower yourself and actually take actions to fix your own life. When I was younger, like when I was a teenager, a lot of bad stuff happened to me, and I was so depressed for such a long time, and I had so much self-pity. I was like, how can this happen to me? I was so alone. I know I was just a kid. I would even cry myself to sleep sometimes thinking about the things that happened to me, all the injustice. And I understand that feeling of pure, like, this is just unfair. But once you internalize that, once you make that your identity, and once you disempower yourself by limiting yourself to that victim, then that is when your life will continue to be shit. This is such a hard pill to swallow, and I feel like this is a pill that you have to swallow again and again. And it's something that even really older adults are learning, is the fact that, like, let's not take this personally, okay? And let's try to re-empower ourselves. The world doesn't owe me anything, and let me just see what I can do. You know, what can I do to get myself out of this? It wasn't your fault that those things happened, obviously. Like, a lot of things, like, they happen to children, they happen to everyone, right? But it's just the fact that self-pity keeps you stuck in such a negative cycle that just negatively affects your life so much that it's genuinely one thing that you can do without. Like, you can have zero of this and you will be thriving in life. The second thing that's perfectly okay to have zero of is body image issues. And it's so sad. It's genuinely so sad. The fact that literally, like, I would say like 90 to 100% of all girls have struggled with body image issues, especially like after you go through your teenage years. I think like maybe as a kid, it's way less because you're just a kid like playing around. But after you become a teenager, then an adult, it's really hard to find like one woman who hasn't really struggled with body image issues, who hasn't gone on a single diet just for aesthetic purposes. I remember when I was like 14, I saw like so many like K-pop diets that was just like 5 days of starving yourself. I don't know how that is so common, but this is one thing that you can genuinely thrive having zero of. And this is coming from somebody who has had an eating disorder, so I understand the feeling of even dreading gaining 1 pound, having your body image, like how you look, like how skinny you are, be everything basically. It's really not that deep, okay? It's really not as deep as you think. The world is so big. Once you start like focusing on things that you're genuinely passionate about, once you actually start like living your life, you know, like what's the worst thing about eating disorders? Like obviously it takes away lives, but it also takes away lives in like another way. Like your whole life becomes what you eat, and that is so limiting, and I don't want people to be limited that way. The world is so big. There's no need to hyperfixate on something that's going to limit your life, because there's going to be something out there for you much greater. You're meant to do so much more than just care about like, oh, like how many calories was that piece of bread. So that is one thing that you'll be perfectly fine having zero of, okay? If you have zero of that, you will be good. It's perfectly okay. Third thing, anything you see on Instagram being advertised, okay? And this is inspired by my friend who told me that she wasn't gonna buy anything she saw on Instagram. And here's the thing. I would not have known any of these things existed if I just went about my day. When I was on TikTok a lot as a teen, I would suddenly, oh, I should buy this lipstick. Oh, I want this corset. I want this like cottagecore vibe, you know? But I would never have had those thoughts if I just didn't go on those platforms. Like I didn't need those things. But I just thought that I needed them because they were marketed to me in a very engaging way. And all I have to say is it's perfectly okay to have zero of those things. And I even make like a rule for myself, like my friend, where I don't buy anything I see advertised on Instagram. Because here's the thing. If you didn't go on Instagram, you would not have known that you wanted those things in the first place. So that means they're not actually necessary to your life. So those are things that you really do not need to have. And the final thing that I wanted to talk about is mistaken humility, okay? What I do not like is when people expect others to downplay themselves, you know, expect others to not advocate for themselves and call it bragging when someone just says their accomplishments or like says things that they're proud of. I don't think it's good to lie and be arrogant and think you're better than other people, but I really don't understand how it's good for society or like good for anyone really to downplay themselves and mistake that as like a sort of humility. Sometimes I just wonder, like, genuinely, who does this benefit? How does it benefit anyone for someone to be like, oh, I'm not that good, like downplay themselves to the extreme when they're actually like a capable person, like when they've actually done shit, you know? But to be honest, I feel like some people, because they themselves are very insecure, they don't feel comfortable seeing someone else, like I guess like a celeb or someone, succeeding in life, you know, getting all this fame, all that stuff. So it makes them feel better to see that person be humble, because it's like, oh, okay, so like they're like me, you know, it's like relatable. But here's my 2 cents on this. I don't ever think it's bad to be down to earth. I think everyone should be, you know, like I don't know, like normal to a certain extent. But there's a difference between that and just hugely downplaying yourself and like somehow getting praised for that. Like I don't understand why like we have this thing. I think we should have zero of that, okay? And I think everyone should be bragging more, except for the people who already brag a lot. Let's be okay celebrating people and celebrating ourselves. And if we get triggered by other people like celebrating themselves, then that means like, oh, there's something here that I have to work on. And so there's more character development for other people as well. So this is the end of this video. I have other things that I want to say, but I think it's getting too late, so I might make a part 2. I'm not sure. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys sometime soon.